I had this discussion with Randy, and I don't think he was receptive, but was there at any point during the creative process, did you consider calling it Borderlands?
I'm going to be honest, I genuinely pitched the name of Wonderlands to be Tiny Tina's Sorderlands, and that did not go over well. So
We tried.
Hi there everybody, it's Ash here from WellPlayed, and I got to sit down with 3 of the creative forces bringing Borderlands 4 to life, including Sam Winkler, the narrative director, Taylor Clark, the lead writer of Borderlands 4, and finally Lin Joyce, the managing director of narrative properties. They talked to me about characters, how they bring their Vault Hunters to life, and pretty much why is the Timekeeper such a dick? But with 1,000 years of subjugation under your belt, you're probably allowed to be. So let's jump in and find out more about Borderlands 4 and how it's shaping up. Everybody, thank you so much for joining me today. And I think the first thing I want to do is jump into probably the main question that's on everyone's minds. Coming from Borderlands 3 and heading into Borderlands 4, please tell me a little bit more about the how and why the team shifted to a more grounded tone for the writing process of Borderlands 4.
That's a great question. It's one we've been getting a lot. Back when we kicked off Borderlands 4, which was before even Borderlands 3 came out, we were already starting to talk about what the next thing would look like. Yeah, I mean, we're talking about people getting in rooms, throwing ideas out, like total blue sky ideas, that sort of thing. And obviously there were a lot of ideas. We have a pretty big team working on that kind of stuff. But something that we very quickly all circled around was the fact that Borderlands 3 kind of came to this climax of a saga revolving around Pandora. And we knew that we loved Pandora, and we knew that the Borderlands world was also bigger than Pandora. We'd gone to all these different planets in BL3 and done the galaxy hopping thing. We're like, okay, what would we do if we had a totally new world here? And from there, obviously, Borderlands 3 came out, and there was a lot of feedback on the storytelling of the game, and we took that very seriously. Borderlands 3, from the jump, had a sort of mandate to be a certain joke per minute type of storytelling.
Really? There was a metric?
Well, I mean, there wasn't a hard number, I'll say, but there was. The creative director of the project felt that was the intent that they wanted to go for Borderlands 3. When I and Danny Homan, the other lead writer of Borderlands 3, came on, the story was pretty much set, and so we were, executing on a plan. Okay. And so we're like, okay, all right, we're starting from the ground up here. What do we want to do for Borderlands 4? So let's take some risks, right? Let's bump the needle towards seriousness, towards grounded character-based storytelling. Let's still tell jokes. I don't think anyone wants to ship a Borderlands game without humor, but let's let the humor arise from circumstances that are in universe, right? As opposed to, hey, remember that thing, right? Of course, there's cultural references, there's pop culture stuff, absolutely. There's dumb little side jokes and everything like that. But we wanted to give the player a chance to immerse themselves in a way that they maybe hadn't in previous things. I'll let Taylor and Lynn also try this one.
What I would add is the way that I've kind of characterized it is all the things that Sam had said, responding to feedback, different direction for the prior game, but also a big reason for the more grounded approach in this narrative is just the setting. We were on Pandora before. Pandora was a very different place than Kairos. Pandora was the Wild West, right? Pandora was a cutthroat. Everybody, willing to stab each other in the back for corporate supremacy, right? And so in that setting, the kind of Gatling gun joke approach made more sense. Kairos is a totalitarian planet overseen by an iron-fisted overlord in the Timekeeper, right?
Yeah.
And
a guy he's ruled the place for like over 1,000 years. Like, as far as regimes go, that's a generous one.
Yeah. Yeah, galactic record there. So like grounding the story made more sense, I think, and so along with what Sam said, I think that was relevant too.
Yeah, and the other thing that I would add there that we talked about, like that is couples with both of those things, is having the discussions about treating the planet of Kairos as one of the main characters. And that also means giving that character room to speak and breathe. And what that really means in the writer's room is sometimes silence is the choice, right? Like, let the world be present with the player. And so that also helps, like, to Sam's point, it wasn't the let's fill this silence with a joke, right? We can get comfortable with this silence and use it as an immersion technique.
And part of that also emerged and was reinforced naturally by the design of it. As we branched into this like more seamless world focused on discovery and like player-driven exploration, which Borderlands has always, given you just like a kind of playground to work in, but it's been these pockets, right? A lot of those walls are down now, and so we're not we're giving the player places that we want them to go, but we can't funnel them. And so trying to fill that time, if they want to run around and grind for loot and do all of the different little side bits that we've filled the world with, we have a pretty large writing team, but I don't think we could fill that time even if we wanted to. So that was in harmony with the design of the overall world.
Brilliant. Well, I mean, there is another sort of unique quirk. I did have the chance to talk to Randy Pitchford a little while ago when I actually got to sit down and get a hands-on with the game. And something that he
unique
said...
quirk.
Yeah, well, I mean, this unique and quirk both work when describing Randy Pitchford in a very positive way. But something that he mentioned to me that I found quite interesting is he said that Borderlands 4 was one of the first games that's been designed to be entirely friendly to a newcomer, like requiring no prior knowledge to the game series. So is that something difficult to plan around? I mean, you're creating a safe onboarding experience for somebody who's never been a Vault Hunter before, yet it still needs to be familiar for those people who like that, hey, there's my guy, and hey, there's her, and, that kind of stuff.
I wouldn't say it's difficult. I would say it's just full of opportunities, as Marcus would say. But
and no refunds.
Yeah, there you go. No, if anything, I think any franchise runs into this, as it's been long running, where half of your audience is going to be the most diehard fan who's played every piece of content a million times over. They watch the streamers, they watch the YouTube videos. They're on the wiki. Exactly. And for some people, and Randy is constantly banging this drum, and I always really appreciate it because he's saying this might be someone's first Borderlands, it might be someone's first shooter, it might be someone's first video game. Right, exactly. Yeah. That's my face too. And I go, oh, how do we do that? And finding that balance of, a bunch of people standing around going, as you know, exposition. But like that is why, to Lin's point about the planet being a character, we focus in Borderlands 4 on introducing that character first. We introduce Kairos, its situations, its villains, its heroes, and then we are able to stair-step players into the broader Borderlands world in the same way that the characters on Kairos have been introduced, because a lot of people on this planet have been secluded. They have been on this, little desert island in the middle of the ocean of the galaxy, and they're only hearing stuff when people crash down, right? Hey, what's happened new? That sort of thing. Stuff doesn't go out, and so players have never heard of Kairos. They don't know anything about it, whether they're returning or new, and they get to discover it all on the same playing field. And there's a whole bunch of stuff there, references, words used that returning players will be like, I think I know who's about to show up, that kind of thing. But we wanted to make sure that all those characters had introductions that were, diegetic and not just like, hey, go read the wiki.
Yeah, I think we've got to have the longest time to claptrap
By
and
far, absolutely.
Borderlands game, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
The TTC.
One of the
Andrew
things
mentioned,
that's is an interesting challenge for this game is like balancing the newness, the freshness of Kairos with the fact that we do want to bring back beloved characters. Some are more beloved universally than others. Claptrap may be one of those examples. But like establishing a kind of limit to keep it feeling fresh and not just like default back to who could we bring back that the fans would recognize and be able to say, hey, I know that person. So I think we've struck a good balance and pulled some real highlights.
What I would add to this question is also right, like many of the people working on Borderlands 4 have been working on this franchise since Borderlands 1, right? Like Gearbox has a great retention policy, right? So like you've got devs that have been working on this almost their entire professional life. They know how to make a Borderlands game. So how do you get the devs excited too, right? Like how do you give them a space to creatively stretch their limbs and approach it as if it's as exciting as the first one was? And so I think this is also a New Planet helps do that. It's still Borderlands. We still know how to make a Borderlands game, but this gave us a lens to look at everything with fresh eyes and the excitement a new player would bring to it as well.
Excellent. Well, I think that, like, obviously talking of characters, and Kairos as a character sounds incredible because it's a new world, but there's also sort of the smaller lens when it comes to sort of speaking of characters and having a new crop of Vault Hunters. And, I mean, they're shaping up to be an amazing new cast. Personally, I love Rafa and his chipper attitude, despite the fact he could die at any moment due to his live frame, death frame. I think it's still in marketing. But how important is it getting these player characters right when they are going to be the lens that the players see the world through?
It takes a lot of iteration to find the voice of one of these Vault Hunters. A lot of lines get written and thrown away before we land on the right tone. So I think, and I can say in all honesty, in prior Borderlands games, this is the first Borderlands game that I've worked on, but I've obviously played them all. In prior Borderlands games, I would identify like, oh, that's the person I want to play as. In this case, I honestly don't know who I'm going to play as first because I love them all equally. I am really happy with where we landed with those voices, and it is the product of a lot of collaborative work from a large team of writers and the actors and our VO people who are awesome.
Oh,
so
phenomenal stuff.
We love all of our children the same. At least I do. I don't know.
It depends who you
I
are.
have a favorite. But like, and I don't want to jump ahead of maybe I am going to jump ahead of Sam here, but I think like two things, right? Like because I also I appreciate it as a kind of magic trick that we have to do, right? That we have to perform, where those Vault Hunters are always responding to the same NPC input, right? And so to find the way to have like these very similar, it's the same NPC input, but how is each of the Vault Hunters going to respond uniquely, right? How do we bring their character through in this moment, but then still branch it back down to this more linear path? And so we put a lot of work into that. We think at the level of that specific line, what is the opportunity for character here? But what I would also say is we also got to do more in Borderlands 4 because there are also unique lines. So Vex as a character might have a conversation that only Vex gets to have, right? And so that it was something that so it is a magic trick, but we also got to do something even more special. Sam, go for it.
No, I mean, from y'all have covered it mostly. From a design perspective, it's a constant balance, and we're experimenting. We're trying new things out, right? With new game design comes game experimentation. This game has by far the most dialogue of any game, certainly I've ever worked on, but certainly any game that we've put out, like by, probably 1.5 to 2x
Wow.
ratio. So, but again, like we are not an RPG, right? We are a shooter with RPG mechanics and everything like that, and
It's
so
a blurry
finding
line, yeah.
exactly dialing in how much people want to hear from their character, because unlike a lot of games, our player characters are like fully extant characters within this universe, right? But that doesn't mean we don't have to leave room for the player. We rarely want the player character saying something that the player themselves doesn't necessarily agree with, right? If they say something new, we want it to be like, oh, cool, wow, this guy had a different perspective on here. We want it to be additive rather than like, oh, I'm gonna sit down and think about that. No, we want you to go shoot someone in the face with a gun, a new gun. Please get a new gun. That's always what we're thinking about. The last thing I'll just say is, I never fully trust our player characters until we get our actors in, right? Like we can have it right on the page, we can feel it, we can I think this is working and everything like that, but I'll never know that it's working until we get the right actor in there. And then it always happens we get in the booth, we start hearing those first few lines, and everyone starts looking at each other like, yeah, it's working. And then after that session, I go right back into the scripts. I'm like, oh man, okay, yeah, now I can hear it in my head. Now I know who this person is. Like, let's explore. So it is, we get to work with our player characters a lot longer than a lot of our other characters, right? Because they're often some of the first people that we cast. And so that is able to inform the writing process throughout. So down to the very last revisions that we were doing on this game, now it's this cycle where I can go and play the game. I can go hear Vex's voice. I can go hear Rapa's voice and Eamon and Harlow, and go like, okay, all right, I know what Harlow would say here. I know what Eamon would say here. Just be like, it does the work for me at a certain point.
By the end, it was so automatic.
Exactly.
We had these over thousands of lines. The voices have been etched into our heads. That's why I say I'm attached to all of them, because they feel like people to me now. They don't just feel like characters that we wrote,
Yeah. And the actors, something it is my policy, but I've definitely learned from other Gearboxers is like, let your guys riff in the booth, right? There's lines from our player characters that no one wrote. They improvised them in the booth, and it just felt right, I remember, back on Borderlands 3, Amara, Zara Fuzzle, who played Amara on that project, she was just so incredible, adding like all this natural like Urdu into Amara's lines, and I was immediately like, yes, perfect. This is the vector that I could not have added to her, but now it's there, and now I can play with it.
Amazing. So even though you're aware of the characters, you don't get to know them until they're actually being embodied by people, and then they're your children, they're your friends. Yeah, that's amazing. Well, if we're speaking of characters, then obviously we need to turn a lens away from the player characters and towards someone who I think is pretty unique as far as the Borderlands universe is concerned, and that is the Timekeeper. As far as full-on bad guys go, Borderlands has this rich tapestry of corporate scumbags and, loose cannons, but the Timekeeper has a very unique, niche as far as villainy goes. So what sets him apart as the main antagonist that we're going to be encountering during the events of Borderlands 4? Apart from the planet-wide subjugation.
I think Sam, can I pair? I'm going to say something that Sam told me that crystallized it for me. Yeah, I'm going to steal directly from my esteemed colleague. I remember Sam telling me at a point that Handsome Jack was like obsessed with the player, right? Handsome Jack was always, he had his fingers in everything. We even learned in Borderlands 1 that he was manipulating all of that from behind the scenes. So he is fixated on us. The Timekeeper is the total opposite. He is at 1,000-mile remove. We are an ant under, at his 10,000-foot view. He's got bigger fish to fry. He is a totalitarian dictator whose mind is always on the greater order, not on the individual chaotic vault hunters, until we force it right into his face.
His first mistake.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Like, the player earns that aggravated, like, okay, fine, you've got my attention. Are you sure you want it? Kind of attitude from him. There's a line in one of the story trailers that we put out where he says, he starts talking about vault hunters, and then he essentially goes, "I take that personally." Who the vault hunter is and why they are here is fundamentally opposed to him, right? And so he starts out philosophically upset with us, and as we start taking shit apart around him, then it starts to become like, no, you person with the controller, fuck you, man. And that, like, if we can land that, then I think that's a really great relationship to have with a villain, right? Like, we can have as many villains who have, disastrous plans for the galaxy or want to rule with an iron fist, but if there's a personal relationship between the player and the villain, then all the better.
Incredible. Well, I mean, in that case, sort of, there's a point that I like to point out, is that when it comes to Borderlands, at least for me, and I mean, me and my group of mates that are going to be with on a Friday night, we always love characters within the game, whether they're spotlighted characters, side characters, whether they're a random NPC begging for you to shoot them in the face, not the arm, not the leg, not the groin, the face. As far as you guys being sort of the creative force that's working and helping create all these incredible things, is there a particular character that's always surprised you, or is there like a personality trait, a line of dialogue, or even just a subplot that sort of organically grew during your creative process? And now, even if I don't specifically say tell me about it, could you offer it to me? What's something that stands out to any of you guys?
I love all my children equally. No, again, no, to go back to a little bit of the previous comment, though, is villains. I love villains because they are easy to put down on the page, but very difficult to master, right? I can write a cackling Skeletor style evil guy all you want, but to actually make you, like, care about them or feel something about them.
This isn't confirming that Skeletors and Borderlands 4 people just
that's not the click. Tiny Tina's Wonderlands.
Yes.
So I would say, so there's we haven't gone too deep into this character publicly, but like Vile Lictor is the villain in the mountains region of the Terminus range.
Vile Lictor.
Vile Lictor. The first time I said that out loud in a company meeting, there was a whole bunch of emojis of people puking, because even just like the name has a bad mouthfeel to it.
Yeah, it's right up there with like moist,
Yeah. Yeah, you get the creepy crawlies. He's this sort of like cut away the weakness of the flesh type of scientist. He wants power, but the things that he is willing to do in order to get it, the things that he's willing to cut off of himself, I just found really interesting. And we, without going too into secrecy detail, there is an entire subplot about him that I find really like a very strange direction to take it. But it's more of a magnifying glass on some of our villains than we've ever done.
I would add too that I made reference earlier to the fact that a lot of people find Claptrap irritating. Some people, I have been told. Claptrap is one of my favorite characters, and I think that one of my favorite side missions in the game has a really beautiful emotional moment with Claptrap, I think, where we actually like get into the little inside the toaster brain of his. That's one of my favorite spots in the game personally. Lynn, did you have anything that you wanted to call out?
I would just almost take like the inverse to Sam and go with surprise. No, I go with the faction leaders.
Oh yeah, sure.
Because each one provides a different lens through which like the Vault Hunter comes to understand Kairos. And so we also really had to focus in on our faction leaders and what is their struggle, what brought them to Kairos, like what is unique about them, their relationship with the Timekeeper, and so on. And so they are a means for the player and the Vault Hunter to come to understand Kairos, but it isn't homogenous, right? This isn't a planet where everybody on it has a single viewpoint. It isn't one culture, right? Like there's multiple, and so you're going to get to see different viewpoints.
Excellent. Well, that's fantastic. I am incredibly excited about that. As far as sort of, I guess, finishing questions, if we just want to sort of put a cherry on top of this, I know we're not quite at time, but when it comes to Borderlands as a series and how it's developed and how the world's grown, do you still feel excited about how much of the future is unexplored as far as Borderlands 4 goes? Like, I know we're here talking about Borderlands 4. I'm not trying to say let's talk about Borderlands 5, but I'm just saying, like, every time a Borderlands game comes out, the scope expands in some way. At what point do you run out of ideas? At what point do you get scared about what's unexplored? Is it just an answer of never, or is it just a case of, like, there's always new ground to tread on?
Oh, yeah. I mean, there's fertile Earth, fertile Kairos, everywhere. I think... I mean, we're always thinking about what's next, and we've got a lot of ideas. I mean, I'll say this: as I said, we started thinking about 4 before we shipped 3.
So there is a writer's room at the moment, sort of Borderlands 5 ?
I'm not going to put numbers on anything, but we're working on. We've got DLC. We've always had like a long history of like story-focused DLC that expands and introduces new characters and takes on different tones and more focused little stories that you can't really necessarily fit into like a big tentpole mainline campaign. So I'll say about that. But yes, I'm excited about the future of Borderlands, and we have thoughts.
Yeah,
I would.
Go ahead.
You
Lynn.
go ahead, Taylor. You go.
What I would say is it's a real privilege to work in a creative role in games, especially at Gearbox, a place that I really love to work. And one of those reasons is if you're ever worried that people are running out of ideas, just go into one team's chat at Gearbox and see how many ideas get just like absolutely Gatling gunned out. Like there are so many ideas and so many creative people at this company, and it makes me very excited for the future of Borderlands and all of the stuff that we do. Lynn, I don't want to cut you off.
Yeah, and I'll be quick about it. Gearbox is ambitious. We have more content than we can fit inside games, which is why we're multimedia now, like we're stretching our story out into lots of other platforms. So yeah, this well goes deep.
Amazing. That's incredible. Thank you so much, guys. I am critically aware of the time, so I'll ask just one last thing before I go. I had this discussion with Randy, and I don't think he was receptive, but was there at any point during the creative process, did you consider calling it Borderlands?
I'm going to be honest. I genuinely pitched the name of Wonderlands to be Tiny Tina's Sorderlands, and that did not go over well. So,
right, okay. Well, we tried.
Is it too late to change the title?
Yeah, retro. The first
I can mail this to you. I don't need it. All right. Hope you all have a lovely evening, and I'll start the rest of my day. And I generally appreciate it.
That's right.
Yeah.
Thanks so much.
Thank you. It was a pleasure.
Bye.
Bye.